Hey guys, welcome back. This is Dr. Carl, and in this week's video what we wanted to go over is the piriformis stretch. And what I really wanted to do is rethink the way that we traditionally do the piriformis stretch and show you guys a better stretch that's really going to isolate the piriformis muscle specifically. And so when we're stretching any muscle, all you're doing is actually lengthening that muscle. And to lengthen a muscle, you take that muscle's action and you do the opposite. So as an example, in a previous video we did the psoas stretch. The psoas is a primary hip flexor, meaning it just brings your knee to your chest. So the best way to stretch it is, again, extending that hip back, elongating the psoas muscle and getting that nice stretch. But for whatever reason with the piriformis muscle, we've kind of threw that thinking out the window. So the piriformis muscle is an external rotator of the hip, meaning it just turns your hip outward. And when you're seated in a chair like I am now, it also helps abduct the hip. So again, bringing the hip outward. So when I'm thinking what we need to do to stretch that muscle is we need to do the opposite of that. We need to internally rotate the hip and we need to adduct the hip. But the common piriformis stretch that I was taught in school and that you see in about 3/4 of the YouTube videos out there is some variation of this, where you take your right foot, cross it over, place it on the left knee, and then you're either pressing down on the knee here or you're sitting up straight and leaning forward. But let's think about that for a second. What are we actually doing when we're putting our foot here? We're externally rotating and abducting the hip. So what we're actually doing with the piriformis muscle is we're approximating the muscle, not stretching it to get the action that we want. So what we're going to do is go over an exercise that focuses on internal rotation and adduction of that hip to really isolate the piriformis muscle. All right, to show you guys the stretch, we got Keith, the guy behind the camera, who graciously volunteered. So when I treat the piriformis muscle, what I do is, again, we want to internally rotate and adduct the knee. Now the key here is, again, pinning down the hip and turning the knee in, just like this. So you can do this stretch yourself, and to do that, what I'll have Keith do is, again, just grab his knee, and again, pulling it that way, adducting and internally rotating. And the key, again, is keeping this hip flat. We don't want to roll over and we start getting more of a low back stretch. By keeping this hip flat on the ground and pulling, we're really going to target, again, your piriformis muscle right here in the butt area. All right, so next time you need to stretch your piriformis muscle, try doing it this way and see if you notice a difference. I guarantee that you will. This is Dr. Carl, Evolve Chiropractic and Wellness. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email.